Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Shotzzy has revealed another suboptimal preparation schedule for OpTic going into a World Championship, saying that both Ghosty and now Huke might be under the weather. They've had to delay their scrims over the last couple of days. That's not necessarily ideal, but he does reveal the teams they'll be playing it purely in their scrims, not wanting to play teams on their side of the bracket, and actually that might work out rather well for them. Very much enjoyed to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. To get into. First of all, wanted to run down the Challengers World Championship teams. These are those that have auto-qualified, effectively based on total pro points. This is where things get super messy, right? Because this Omit team picks up GodRx, not necessarily because they believe that's the best iteration of their team, but because GodRx has the most pro points and therefore they can get to the World Championship. There's other things that happen elsewhere. These are the 5 teams from NA that have auto-qualified. These are the 5 teams from Europe that have auto-qualified, 1 from APAC and Latin America respectively, and there's 1 more team from each region based on the last chance qualifiers that are going down. I think the LATAM LCQ only has like 3 teams or so. The Asia Pacific one maybe has 8 or so. The other regions have rather a lot. This is the top 16 teams that go to the European LCQ. One of these teams will win and make it out there. This is going on over the coming days. And I know there's a lot of attention towards the NA last chance qualifier because the number 1 seed here is Doug St. Martin's Boston Breach Academy. It's still remarkable really that they're not in there for Challengers Champs. It's just unfortunate because Doug picks up these great players, right? They bring in the likes of Beans, and obviously it was Ghosty last season, but Kremp and now Snoopy, and all of those guys have just been, whisked away to the actual pro team, and that's left Boston Academy without the pro points they would otherwise have. They've brought Gunsig in, but unless there's any changes over the coming days to this Boston Academy roster into the main team, probably this is going to be it, and I think this is probably going to have to be locked in now as well. So there's a lot of good teams here though, right? Look at all these former pro players, even down to here, you've got Paul X's here, Major Maniac and Vivid's team. That's going to be really interesting if they happen to play the Boston Academy. I believe only one of these teams makes it through, right? Gunnar and Brustini's team. Glow Frosty and Exotic in reality were still playing actually. Phantoms is here, Classic, Gravity, Jimbo, Geo, etc, etc. So, some good teams. Is Doug's team the best? Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to see, but it's going to be a tall order to win the LCQ and qualify for champs from his perspective. The favourites for the entire thing have got to be the Awobabs. They absolutely dominated everything back at Toronto's Major 5. aBeZy was the MVP by a mile, and interesting to see European COD back in this spot that it's in at the moment because this not entirely French team, but certainly French-speaking team, looking all rather good. I believe aBeZy and aBeZy can speak very solid English, so they will be, and aBeZy was in the Pro League before, even back on, Enigma 6, back in the Black Ops 4 days, and other teams around that kind of time. I don't know about Cobra and Lynn so much, but definitely general managers in the league will have to be paying close attention to this. Just want to do a quick follow-up here on this whole Vikul versus Arcitys drama because it was a little bit surprising how this all went down yesterday. We got the Vikul comments, then we got the responses from Arcitys. We also got this from Parasite I thought was quite interesting. I'm sure it was a discussion in his chat and he's not coming at him. He made an observation which I'm sure many people made. Bad position, org exploded, nice guy. Still doesn't excuse his actions or that effect on its team, what it had. That's not coming at him. Vivid had a great season in comparison. He solidified his place on the team. Arcitys did not. And then we actually got this here from Exceed, former, current teammate, I'd technically guess, of Arcitys, who kind of drops this at Vikul with, laying him up for the slam dunk. So this is pretty interesting because it implies that either Exceed agrees with Vikul's perspective on Arcitys as a teammate this season, or he straight up told him some of these things, and now, he's effectively laid him up for it, right? And then, Vikul delivered the goods on stream, where Exceed kind of was talking to him in the background, and fundamentally what you've got to say is, the end of the season for these teams that didn't make champs, it's like a dog-eat-dog world out there, right? If you had a bad season and there's a chance that you can say, oh, well, my teammate was bad for XYZ reason, it gives you a better chance to get back into the league next year. That's sometimes what's going to happen, right? So you've got to always take these things with a pinch of salt. But some of the reason why I said what I said in last night's video was because my understanding was that Exceed was not happy with Arcitys, and therefore it wasn't just Vikul saying this out of nowhere, but there was at least some belief in that kind of idea from within the team itself. Whether that's fully justified, we're never really going to know. Next season, I think Arcitys should be okay, but we'll see, right? Bit of drama, there's always drama, especially down the lower end of the leagues in terms of keeping spots for next season. Doug wants to qualify for the Challengers World Championship, and last night he was doing a scrim against a pretty decent Challengers team actually, with Shotzzy, Methods and Zuma. He says, left Boston Academy, first scrim ever right now, so I thought this is absolutely fantastic. And even better, of course, was game. I don't know exactly if it was map 1 they played, but it's pretty funny because obviously Doug plays, right? Like every single day. Shotzzy is a top pro player. Methods is like Methods every time he drops into something like this always does very well. He probably still could be competing, but you know, people joke around exactly what he is now for OpTic. But look, I still think what he's done is the correct decision, Methods, but nonetheless, I think he still could be competing if he really wanted to, because he's still pretty solid, to be honest. And this was the moment where Zuma comes through and drops 7 kills. I think they were doing pretty well in this map, actually, before someone pointed out, maybe it was Shotzzy, that Zuma had like 3 kills on the scoreboards, and then the vibes quickly disintegrated. So the scoreboard's kind of funny here, but I'll just share this clip from this perspective.
We just
oh my god!
Oh my god! We just bottled it.
7.
Oh, what are we doing?
That's all you're giving me, Tom. 7.
Bro, what are we doing, bro?
Bro, 7.
Oh my god,
bro,
dude.
we gotta get out, man. Jesus.
Bro, we gotta rotate and get kills, bro.
Dude, I am.
We're not getting in the hell. Nobody else is getting in the hell. Man, like guys, if we're not gonna get in the hell, I'm not gonna play the game. God, bro, it's frustrating. Guys, it's frustrating. It's frustrating.
Yo, 7 is insane.
What? Bro, this is where I take another rip. This is where I take another rip. I have no many.
Oh my god, is that Freddy Cougar?
Oh my god. I mean, dude, to be fair.
Obviously, what makes this especially funny, if you guys are still relatively new to the scene and don't know about the Census 7 meme, it's the classic meme from the Modern Warfare 2019 days where they were playing some 10s, I guess it was, and Formal was in the team with Censor, and Doug dropped 7 kills, and Formal was like, oh, that's all you'll give me, Doug, 7, and all this stuff. It's just absolute comedy. So whenever that happens, people think of Doug Censor Martin. In fairness, Priest had dropped 3 the other day, so it's not the worst you're ever going to see, but this was the scoreboard here. They go down 250-232 on the Mercado. Shotzzy Method slaying out pretty hard. Doug's got the hill time, as does Zuma, in fairness, but not the kills to match, unfortunately. So pretty funny stuff, and yeah, unfortunate for Zuma in a way, hopping back in here, having not played COD in a while, against players that really do play every single day. And Doug was holding his own, you know, which are things you like to see. But speaking of Shotzzy, we've got to discuss this OpTic Texas situation, because this reminds me, and maybe reminds many of you, of the events of the World Championship of 2021, going into COD World Champs, the Delta duo of Scump and Envoy that both got on well at the same time with whatever new variant was out at the time, and they couldn't make it to Champs. Initially, they couldn't get a flight because they had to get the negative test in order to fly, and it basically took until the very last minute for them to get the correct test result they needed, get out there and play the World Championship. It definitely affected their preparation. Dashy made that clear as well, that he wasn't even sure they were going to have to, you know, be able to play with him. They thought they might have to bring Rambo in, or like Big Time in or something. I don't know what the rumors were at the time, but now we might have version 2 of this situation. Shotzzy says on stream last night that right now Ghosty, after being unwell at the major, is still ill, which is, look, is it a surprise? These gamers, man, they can't help themselves. I talked about it before, like with the vitamins. Okay, you guys say vitamins in the States, right? And minerals, you know, make sure you get that stuff in, make sure they're healthy, you know, cold showers, all this stuff for the immune system, all that, because I try to do that stuff when I go to these events, because when you go to these events, there's a lot of people there. You can very easily pick something up and get ill, and I'm surprised more of the pros don't get ill, to be honest. Like, I take all the precautions in my preparation and habits and stuff like this to try and make sure I can go to the event, fly out there, you know, all the airports and all this stuff, and actually stay healthy, which has worked for me the last couple of times I've been, which is definitely not, because when I went to the first event, like Anaheim 2019, I was unwell the whole time. Like, it was awful. So, you know, learn from that experience. But the pros, seems like, aren't quite up to speed on that stuff yet, and they still get unwell before and during events. Not to say that it's always their fault, right? Sometimes you just get unlucky, but it does seem to happen to OpTic more than it does maybe to other teams. So anyway, Ghosty was unwell and apparently still is unwell, and then Huke also has now tested positive for COVID apparently as well, or at least they think that's what he's got. So it's not ideal for OpTic.
We were supposed to scrim today, but iLLeY woke up sick. Not really sure if I think he probably has COVID. And Dan obviously didn't feel well. But like, he's trying to take it day by day, so it's kind of all over the place. But we're gonna try to scrim tomorrow. Oh my God! Woke up sick and he can't. He said he can't swallow, but I knew what he went. He meant like it hurts when it swallows. Hey yo! They're really good. YOLO Yaz. Think the true one. Toronto just wasn't our weekend, dude. She was just not our weekend at all. Bro, Jinzy. Let's see this motherfucker said, which teams are you guys screaming for champs? I'm assuming only the other side of the bracket. Yeah, basically. Like Toronto, FaZe, and LA Thieves, and Seattle? Yeah, Seattle.
So I think as a result of this, they're had to chalk off like probably one day of scrims so far. They probably wanted to get back into action today or yesterday, sorry. They weren't really able to do that. And hopefully Ghosty gets better quickly. And if Huke is also feeling unwell, it's not ideal for their practice. It's not the end of the world, right? I mean, they know how to play the game. Their best COD they played was actually a few weeks ago now. So, it might be difficult to get back to that point. Every day of practice is going to be relevant. And this is where at the end of the season, those kind of compound interest things really do kick in. And at the end of the year, this is where the teams are playing their best. You've got to be on your absolute A game, and any distraction from that is not exactly ideal. So, it shouldn't be a massive problem for OpTic as long as this solves itself over the next couple of days. But every day of practice lost, does it reduce their percentage chances of winning the event by 1 or 2% a day? Maybe it does. So that's what we've got to think about here. The other element, though, is which teams they're going to play in their practice, which I thought was arguably more interesting maybe than what's currently going on with the health of the guys. So this is the bracket for champs, and as expected, it's always an interesting one because some teams obviously they're not going to play the team they play round one, right? Like Thieves aren't going to scrim Ultra over the coming days, but should they scrim Surge? Should they scrim FaZe? At least in respawns, maybe not in Search and Destroy, but in respawns they probably could because there's no Surge, there's no guarantees you play them round 2 anyway, so maybe it's worth practicing against them. OpTic though have decided they're going to play nobody from their side of their bracket, so not Breach obviously, not Subliners or Rokkr, because I guess either of those teams could kind of win. So OpTic are only going to scrim FaZe, Surge, Ultra, Thieves, which in fairness for OpTic is pretty much the ideal set of teams to play, right? It's good that you're on this side of the bracket if you're OpTic because scrimming against FaZe, Surge, Ultra, Thieves in all the respawns in the Search and Destroy practice is pretty much ideal. Like, you get a great breadth of teams. Ability, Ultra great in control, as are FaZe. Surge are technically good at hardpoint, as now clearly are FaZe, it seems. And Thieves are kind of more of an all-rounder team. So I think that's kind of a good sign for OpTic as well, the way the bracket has fallen, not just in terms of how easy it might be if they play well and they play their game to get all the way through, but also in terms of who they can prep against going into the tournament. So very much intrigued your thoughts on that in the comment section below. How much is this going to affect OpTic over the coming days? Can they regain from this impressively? Because I think they will need to. They needed a regain after the major, and they've not had the easiest time here if half of their team is ill, and therefore they're having to chalk off practice while other teams continue to separate that advantage. Slash will want to get his, second World Championship ring in the upcoming weekend, and these are his results over the last several years. Third, first, second are his first 3 years going to champs. The last couple of years hasn't been quite so pretty, and except for the Rise Nation team in World War II, this would actually look probably an awful lot better, but maybe this year is the one to turn it around. So very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.